So is this a big pipe or what? I found this at the Chicago Pipe Show. I was just walking by one of the booths, and this kind of crazy car salesman kind of guy was yammering at somebody else, and I was kind of trying to get away from that. But he had some nice looking kind of big pipes for sale. And they were crappy pipes, which again is not my thing. I mean, I just the whole thing, you know, the way they're all marketed and stuff. Crappy pipes, really, is just not my thing. So I walked away and, you know, did the circuit, and it takes a few hours. Having to relight because this is Captain Earl's stimulus package from about 2008. It's pretty heavy on the Latakia. It's this black cake. It's good. It's not as creamy as I was kind of expecting it to be. I think age has not been as kind to this as some. Often Latakia blends just like it really mellow, but I think it's also the other tobaccos. Balkans, I think, age well. They get more mellow and deep and complex. Virginia certainly do. The right Burley can do that too. Most aromatics I don't think do. They just sort of go bland. So anyway, I came back to this to this table where this guy had his crappy pipes, and I saw this one, and it's a nice piece of wood, you know. Price was right. You know, it was $100. So I just said, yeah, let's do it. He said, hey, you want a t-shirt? Only if you're an extra large. I said, okay, I'll take a t-shirt too. So you can find them on, just do a Google search on crappy pipes. I still hate saying it, you know, it diminishes pipe smoking in a way. You know, it's just such a classy kind of a name. I don't know. Anyway, just a different perspective on it than I have, I guess. So, it's a good smoking pipe. I'm sure he just probably buys these as unfinished pipes and then puts his stamp on it. Crappy. But it really is not a crappy pipe. So, kind of a little too big. Can a pipe be too big? Yeah. Now, if it had a shorter, kind of a stubbier bit, I think it would work better for me. But that's just me. It's a good smoking pipe. Honestly, I think most pipes are good smoking pipes. If you make sure they're opened up to 530 seconds and they're in appropriate shape, meaning, you know, taller than they are wide, and the bit has to have a decent smoke channel in it, unimpeded by roughness and so forth, so it passes a pipe cleaner easily. Then you got yourself a good smoking pipe. I mean, yeah, that's been my experience. So. stuff is a little hard to keep lit. So this weekend, this Saturday, we're going to do our Klickitat Pipe Club slow smoke competition. So I'm hoping to give my pipe to somebody else so they can do the competition. I know I'll end up at the bottom, and it's not really a pipe that I would ever purchase for myself. So, maybe I could have a little more value doing that because it'd be more fun. But we'll see. So I had a great weekend, motorcycle club weekend. Left Friday, stayed with a buddy of mine over on the east side, and then did some great riding on, I swear, some of the best roads in Washington State. And there are a lot of good ones here. Had some good social time around the campfire. More good riding down around Portland, around Mount Hood and on Old Highway 30, which kind of climbs scenically along the Columbia River east of Portland there. It was just awesome. And then on Monday we did a advanced rider training course from Team Oregon for the motorcycles at a go-kart track, and it was just so much fun. It was a full day class on sort of advanced riding skills. Half the day was out on the track, and it was just, it couldn't have been better. Kind of hot, but wow, so much fun. So anyway, it was a great weekend. I had picked up this book not long after Trump got into office, and I loaned it to a friend of mine who never read it. He said, "Hey, you want that back?" And I said, "Sure." So I started reading it last night. It is surprisingly good and quite readable. We'll see how fact-based it is. I mean, a lot of the conjecture here regarding mafia influence and so forth is probably unsubstantiated by actual fact, because facts are hard to come by. Proof. Give me proof. But I do have a copy of the Mueller report coming to me. It's in the mail somewhere. I'll check the P.O. box today. So even in a redacted form, that should be quite interesting to read. And kind of a major volume. It's like 400 some pages, I guess. So we'll see about that. I just want to read this stuff for myself instead of having all these talking heads with their opinions and their agendas determining what we think, and that's on both sides. So I just want to figure it out for myself. So we'll see how that goes. This weekend, there were people who were, as is usual in this crazy world we live in, feeling kind of stressed out. And I'm lucky that my employer provides, for instance, a weekly guided meditation class, if you want to do it. And I do. And I find that very useful. It's all about just mindfulness, which is just not letting your mind just race away as it is wont to do, but just to kind of allow that to happen, but not get swept up with it. And that's hard to do. We just aren't trained to do that in Western culture. So another great resource, the meditation teacher last week, no, it was the week before, didn't have a class because something else was going on. And so she sent out some links to various guided meditations on the internet. Tara Brach, some other people, you know, and they were all women, and that was good. I mean, Tara Brach is like a rock star in the mindfulness world, as are a number of other people. Jack Kornfield, you know. So I did a little on my own research, and I came up with one that I like the best of all. And it's, he has an online, what is it? MBSR, which is a mindfulness-based stress reduction class. And it's just guided meditations and discussions, thinking about various ways of thinking. I find that fascinating. I guess I'm ready for it, you know. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? If you're not ready for that, that's fine. But if you are, there's a guy over in eastern Washington, maybe he's in western Idaho, because that's still the Palouse. Anyway, it's Palouse Mindfulness. I'll put a link down below. Palouse. And the Palouse is a region of the state. It's these kind of dry, rolling hills, most of which are covered with dryland wheat. Remarkably beautiful, and again, the motorcycle riding over there is just exceptional. So, anyway, I seem to relate better to a guy doing the meditation leading. I don't know why. Who knows? Had a great fire drill last night. I've been a volunteer for years. And we've got a great little fire department here. On the trip, I stopped at an air show in the Dalles along the Columbia River. There's a little sandwich board alongside the road that said, air show today, sponsored by the Hood Sport Fire Department or something. I thought, well, that's kind of weird. So I was riding alone and I could do it. And so I diverted in there and had a great time. Talked to some guys about what we do here, which is water supply. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. But they're a fire authority, so it's sort of a combination of fire departments. And they had a much bigger area and also a lot more people within the fire department. So that ours is pretty small makes it easier to know who everybody is and be able to work with them. So yeah, it's a great fire department. Sometimes drills just happen so well. You know, everything goes well, everybody's in a good mood, everybody's working together. That's what you want. And that's pretty true about everything, isn't it? But once again, I'm kind of a loner with a lot of friends. You know, did most of my motorcycle riding this weekend by myself. And I enjoy riding with other people, and I enjoy the social times around it. But yeah, I just end up kind of happily being by myself a lot of the time. So that works for me. A little sunshine. We had some rain the last couple days. It gives you a little break from the sun, I gotta say. But up here, the sun is so nice. So, crappy pipes. He didn't have much on his website. You know, it's built, the framework is there. It just doesn't have much content. So I was thinking, you know, I could leave a link and that would have a bunch of pipes on there, but that isn't the case. So, for whatever reason. But you can send him an email and he'll send you the inventory that he does have. I guess that's better than nothing, right? So, crappy pipes. I mean, it's kind of catchy. It's fairly memorable, but it's just an ethic that isn't mine. So, yeah. But pipes are good. Yeah. So I'm on a little motorcycle ride. We are looking east to Mount Adams, a volcano. And then you can see off in the distance Mount Rainier. And then that is the Yakima Valley, sort of the mid-valley. This is Township Road. There's the Victory. Headed down to Maupin, Oregon. And then that is where we're headed, over through those dry hills. This is one of my favorite roads in Washington. It's called the Bickleton Highway. And it'll connect me with Maupin in the Yakima Valley to Goldendale, down by the Columbia River. So, yeah, having a nice little ride here. When you ride by yourself, you set your own pace. It's nice. There was a guy at the gas station in Sunnyside, old guy on a 2003 Harley FLH, looked like brand new. He was a character. He was probably 75 at least. And so he said, "Hey, I want to ride that road with you. Last time I rode it, it was dirt." So, which wasn't that long ago. But it's one of the most isolated roads in Washington, I would say. We've had a couple of fires up here, wildland fires during the summers in years past, and that's how I know about it. Otherwise, it just would have been totally off my radar and off of everybody else's. It's like 80 miles with Bickleton in the middle. Bickleton's this town of about 100 people at most. And no gas, no services. So, you know, you're kind of better fuel up. So, anyway, the sage is looking nice and fresh and it smells great. Not a cloud in the sky. So it'll be pushing 100 today probably, degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah, it's just one of those kind of days, kind of places. So anyway, onward. So this has to be one of the least traveled roads in Washington State. That's Mount Hood up there. And then to the south, I don't know if you can see it on the horizon, is another volcano. Boy, I don't know which one that is. And then as we look south, there's the Columbia River way down there. And up that way is Bickleton. So, I love these empty highways. This has to be the least traveled road in Washington State, I swear. I mean, there just is never any traffic on this. It's a Saturday afternoon. You'd think there'd be, you know, people driving around, but smoking a little Balkan Supreme in a Peterson. Iran. I don't know what's particular shape this is. It's got a few fills as per Peterson standard, but I don't know, the shape just resonates with me. And these big power lines here they're crackling. You know, they carry electricity from the Columbia River dams. So, yeah, great country. Empty, empty country. Blessedly quiet campsite. Everybody's off having dinner. 30 miles away in Maupin, Oregon. And I just came from there, and I'm not going back. I've had enough good riding today. I'm done. So I set up my tent and I'm just relaxing. So I'm gonna light up a pipe here shortly. I think we can have a campfire tonight. I have to double check though. It is pretty dry, so we'll see. But yeah, great little campground here. Sort of in the Hood River National Forest in Oregon, south of Mount Hood. So yeah, it's beautiful. Evening, little afternoon light up in the trees there. Oh yeah, how nice is that? I tell you. And then that little red thing is a propane fireplace in case we can't have a fire. It kind of does the trick. It's surprising. So I like to participate in things, but you know, group activities, but only so far. I am kind of like a loner with a lot of friends. That's kind of an oxymoron. But I would just as soon, like today, I had some social time at the beginning of the day, and then the whole major part of the day, rode the Bickleton Highway, rode the Klickitat Canyon, stopped for an air show in Dallsport, and then rode by myself down here to the campsite. So, you know, I'll have plenty of social time today, tomorrow, and Monday, and it's great. That's perfect. I would often rather spend time with myself than just to follow a crowd. I don't know. Smoking the last of that Vulcan Supreme in this Peterson. It is the perfect place to smoke a pipe. I will tell you that. It's just magnificent. Huge trees here. Ponderosa pines. Very nice. Yeah, I kind of wonder sometimes if people are not getting away from actually doing things like motorcycling, camping in eastern Oregon, and on these back roads in Washington. You know, I fear that young folks are just more willing to spend time on the computer or on their phone because it gives them control over a situation. But you know, honestly, in any social situation, you have the control. You can decide when you want to check out, when you want to step back, when you want to step forward and be more active, you know, so. But I'm old school, so I like, and I was raised that way. My dad was just the greatest outdoors, get outdoors, go hunting, fishing, skiing, camping. We did crazy things when I was a kid. Oh my gosh. That man knew how to recreate, you know, recreation, I tell you. And part of it, I think, was he had a real sense of mortality because his dad had died at 55 of heart failure brought on by scarlet fever. I think in 1955, actually, before I was born. And I never got to meet him. But my dad had scarlet fever as a kid too, and never told anybody until he was having heart problems and was just kind of declining, which was very unlike him. And they couldn't figure it out. And so finally, a blood test came back that he had bacterial endocarditis, which is a staph infection that colonizes inside your heart valve that's been damaged and roughed up from scarlet fever. That's the way I understand it. So he had a sense that he was just going to keel over at 55 like his dad did. So live large, and it was a great way to live, I tell you. So he lived until he was in his, I think, I should know this. I think he was 72. So he got some extra miles out of life, but that still did get him. So, he had a couple of heart valve replacements, pig valves, and then they can only do 2 of those. So then he had a mechanical valve put in. And then that was failing, and so he needed a whole heart transplant. And he flew down to the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, and they said, nope, you're just not a candidate for this. So he flew home, and I flew down from Seattle and met him in Denver, and he was gone a month later. So, yeah, that was. But he was a great dad. He was really an awesome dad. Yeah. So we're having a little higher altitude smoke here at Timberline Lodge at Mount Hood. People are skiing. Wow. It's kind of funny. There's a Timberline Lodge, and then I think that's Mount Washington and Three Sisters behind, but I don't really know. And then that's looking way south. Get a great view from up here. Smoking some maple Cavendish from Altatus that I grabbed accidentally at home. Probably would never have smoked this. But. So this is Chanticleer Point, looking east up the Columbia River. To the west is Portland. There's I-84 down there. And then on the top of the hill over there is Cliff House. So we'll make that our next stop. This is on Old Highway 30. Yeah. Which I think was the first highway that ran from coast to coast. I think, from Boston to Portland and then on to the Pacific, I think. I could be wrong. Anyway.